Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for a very specific, very fast political journey.
We are indeed.
We are going inside Kamala Harris's memoir, 107 Days. Now, whether you follow politics closely or, just occasionally glance at the headlines, this book has been kind of everywhere.
Absolutely. And our mission today, it's highly targeted. We are not doing like a traditional policy review or a full campaign history.
Right.
Instead, we're giving you the shortcut, basically, to understanding the structure, the core themes, and maybe the emotional insights that make this book so talked about.
So this deep dive isn't about the policy platform per se. It's more about the anatomy of this political sprint.
Exactly.
And the most unique thing about this source materials, as you pointed out earlier, is really the scope. I mean, most political memoirs are these huge, decades-long things, right? Comprehensive, often exhaustive biographies.
Yeah, tracing a whole career.
From beginning to end.
But this is a different animal entirely. The book is so tightly focused, it avoids that whole decades-long backstory.
The title says it all.
The title is The Boundary, 107 Days. It focuses exclusively on that intense, chaotic, and really high-stakes 3-month sprint that defined the tail end of her 2024 presidential campaign.
Right up to accepting the nomination.
Culminating right there.
It certainly feels immediate, almost like the author was writing while the adrenaline was still spiking.
That's a good way to put it.
But doesn't that tight focus maybe risk sacrificing necessary context? I mean, does that immediacy detract from the reflection you usually expect in a memoir?
Well, that's what the sources suggest is kind of the strategic brilliance here. The limitation is the strength.
Right.
By focusing only on those 107 days, she creates this narrative of just relentless pressure and urgency. It's a snapshot, yeah, not a historical treatise.
So it skips the earlier stuff.
It avoids dwelling on, let's say, earlier, maybe less successful parts of her career, and instead concentrates solely on the fight that defined her nomination. It creates a real sense of being in the moment.
Which you don't often get.
You rarely find that in these big, retrospective political books.
Okay, so let's unpack the structure around that compressed time frame then.
Yeah.
107 days. It's just over 3 months. Intense campaigning, strategizing, basically fighting for her political life.
Yeah.
You can feel that compression reading it.
Yeah, and the sources confirm the writing style absolutely reflects that intense, compressed timeline. The language is urgent, it's direct.
Short chapters, too, I noticed.
Very short chapters, which makes it really easy to read, actually. You don't need to be a political junkie to follow the narrative thread here.
It reads more like a diary sometimes.
It almost reads like a real-time diary of crisis management.
Yes. And what seems to truly capture the attention of reviewers is that emotional core. The sort of aha moment for many readers seems to be that the book is fundamentally less about, winning speeches.
Right.
And more about just human resilience under immense pressure. It's the private, sometimes messy side of politics that campaigns usually try very hard to hide.
And this is where it really deviates from that typical kind of stiff political narrative, isn't it? Harris seems willing to show you the sleepless nights, the moments of genuine self-doubt.
Which is risky.
It is. And the stressful behind-the-scenes reality, traveling thousands of miles while facing just intense scrutiny. She humanizes the whole thing by showing the toll it takes.
To make that connection really tangible for people, our sources point to one specific, quite intimate anecdote that seems to resonate really strongly with readers. She describes this moment of just profound exhaustion, sitting in the back of the campaign bus late at night, watching the lights of small towns blur past the window.
And in that quiet moment, that reflection, she connects her current political struggle right back to her personal history.
Her mother.
She reflects on her mother, and specifically her mother's fight for dignity, her dedication to public service, in a new country.
So it grounds the politics.
That intimate connection, it grounds the political fight in something deeper. This idea that the sacrifices of the past provided the strength she needed to push through this, seemingly impossible political sprint.
Right.
It provides a relatable emotional foundation that, let's face it, policy speeches often lack.
Okay, so if that raw emotional experience is kind of the fuel, then we need to look at what gives the book its spine. What are the, let's say, 3 core themes that act as the structural pillars holding this whole sprint together?
Good question.
Let's start with the central conflict, which is sort of inherent in the timeline itself. Resilience under fire.
Yeah, that's definitely number one. She openly details the chaos. She writes about those moments where the messaging failed, maybe.
Things went wrong.
Things went wrong where exhaustion was just this pervasive factor and where, internal and external challenges really threatened to completely derail the whole campaign.
It's not a perfect story.
No, it's not a narrative of perfect execution at all. It's really a narrative of damage control and sheer willpower.
It seems crucial that she doesn't try to sanitize the struggle or, pretend that everything was seamless. That willingness to admit struggle, show that she didn't always have the perfect strategy.
Yeah.
That feels refreshing.
It does.
But is that level of self-criticism really believable in a campaign memoir? That's always the question, isn't it?
Well, that's the tightrope walk, The sources suggest that the vulnerability feels genuine because it's framed in the context of such extreme pressure.
Okay, the context sells it.
Right. It makes the narrative more relatable than, say, typical political autobiographies that often seek to present this flawless, inevitable path to power. She's showing the flaws and the fight, which allows the reader to connect to the determination, not just the eventual success, maybe.
Okay, fair enough. So resilience isn't built in a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Who does she credit for maintaining that fight? That brings us to the second pillar, I guess, the power of community.
Exactly. Yeah, this theme shifts the focus quite deliberately from the singular candidate to the collective effort. The team, the volunteers, the book repeatedly highlights the efforts of volunteers. The people who showed up in the pouring rain to staff phone banks or attend rallies.
The unsung heroes.
And the organizers working incredibly long hours behind the scenes. She frames her leadership not as some individual mandate, but really as a commitment to the entire movement that propelled her forward.
That makes sense.
It's an effective way, I think, to broaden the story's emotional appeal beyond just her personal ambition.
And finally, the third theme, the one that probably adds the greatest sense of historical weight to the narrative, the fragility of democracy.
Yes. This is sort of the heavy lifting of the book.
Right.
She consistently conveys this really powerful sense of weight and responsibility that just permeates those 107 days.
More than just winning.
It wasn't just about winning an election for personal gain. She writes very pointedly about the necessity of restoring trust, protecting fundamental democratic norms that she clearly felt were under siege. And critically, representing those in the country who felt unseen or unrepresented by the existing political power structure. This agency really elevates the campaign from just a political race into something like a historical duty.
So, okay, we've walked through the internal narrative, the themes, the structure. Now, let's shift gears a bit and look at the external view.
Yeah.
How has the book actually been received? Because anytime a high-profile politician releases a book this close to a major political event, the reception is rarely simple, is it?
No, definitely not. On the positive side, you have the Associated Press calling it a brisk, urgent memoir that captures the energy of a campaign in crisis mode.
Brisk and urgent, yeah.
And reviewers generally agree it succeeds in conveying that high-pressure, behind-the-scenes environment. It delivers on that promise.
And maybe the most compelling feedback comes from the readers themselves, reinforcing that emotional connection we talked about. Our sources cite the Goodreads consensus, where many people expressed surprise at how personal the book felt. We even noted that reviewer who confessed something like, "I thought I was picking up a political ad in book form, but I ended up crying halfway through. Harris feels real here."
Wow. That's quite a statement.
That's a testament, I think, to the emotional storytelling maybe overcoming some pre-existing skepticism.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have to also address the most persistent critique, which comes up again and again.
Right.
While the book delivers on drama and emotion, critics argue pretty consistently that it is, quote, light on policy substance.
Oh, the policy question.
Exactly. The Washington Post review, for instance, noted that while she successfully shows us the drama of the campaign, she doesn't really use the space to dive deeply into the specifics of her proposals on, say, economic reform or foreign policy.
That's a really crucial distinction for potential readers, isn't it? It means that if you're looking for, I don't know, a detailed governing manifesto or a 500-page breakdown of legislative goals.
This isn't your book.
This isn't it. But let's maybe look at that policy lightness, not necessarily as a flaw, but perhaps as a strategic choice.
Well, that's exactly the analysis that adds some real insight here, I think. By minimizing dense policy, the book effectively transforms from what could have been a technical document into a leadership narrative.
Focus is elsewhere.
It prioritizes emotional connection, resilience, identity, shared responsibility over the legislative detail. And this strategic shift makes the book appeal not just to, let's say, the policy wonks,
Right.
but to a much broader audience interested in stories about overcoming impossible odds, about leadership under pressure.
So if we summarize who should read this,
Yeah,
political fans, certainly. They'll enjoy the inside look.
for sure.
But beyond that, maybe if you just enjoy stories about leadership, about navigating extreme pressure and humanizing the often, opaque world of high-stakes politics,
Then you'll find value.
you will likely find value here.
Yeah.
It delivers on that emotional narrative, even if it kind of skips the detailed budget breakdowns. #TechOutro.
Yeah. So to synthesize the impact of 107 days, the book's greatest value probably lies in its strong pacing, its really tight focus on that critical, chaotic period, and Harris's willingness to express a certain vulnerability.
That vulnerability again.
She writes quite openly about fear and doubt, right alongside her determination to just keep moving forward. It's that combination.
And tying back to that deeply human element we discussed, the sources really highlight her powerful reflections on identity.
Oh, yes.
He directly addresses the scrutiny, the often unfair stereotypes, and just the immense pressure of representation that comes with being a woman of color seeking the highest office in the country.
And that acknowledgement is arguably what elevates the book beyond just simple campaign history.
How so?
Well, it grounds the political fight in a deeper, ongoing, personal, and frankly, historical struggle. It's not just about the campaign trail.
The book effectively demonstrates that the challenge of representation isn't just like a footnote to the campaign,
Not at all.
but an active, maybe exhausting burden that requires a whole different kind of resilience.
Exactly right. And ultimately, I think the book goes beyond politics by speaking to almost anyone who has ever felt underestimated, perhaps, or boxed in by the expectations of others. It demonstrates that determination in the face of just relentless pressure. So whether you walk away feeling inspired by the narrative, or maybe you maintain a healthy skepticism about the whole genre of campaign memoirs,
Which is fair.
which is totally fair, 107 Days successfully captures a really unique, maybe once-in-a-lifetime political moment. It provides this unique, adrenaline-soaked snapshot of history.
That immediacy we mentioned.
That immediacy, and I think that makes it absolutely worth your time.